For number 6 of the multiple choice, you're given a genetics problem involving snapdragons that involves 2 different traits, height and flower color. So tallness in snapdragons is a dominant trait, so that's represented with a capital T. And dwarfness is a recessive trait, which is represented by a lowercase t. For flower color, red is represented with a capital R, and white is represented with a lowercase r. For height, these alleles display a relationship that involves complete dominance. That means the capital T is a fully dominant allele. So a plant that is big T, or big T, little t, will be tall. You're told in the problem, though, that the alleles for flower color exhibit a different type of relationship. The big R is incompletely dominant to the little r. That means if a plant is heterozygous, or big R, little r, it'll have flowers that are pink, a color that's intermediate between red and white. At this point, off to the side of your paper, you can actually draw all of the possible genotypes and the phenotypes associated with them. For example, big T will be tall. Big T will be tall. Little t will be short. Big R will be red. Little r will have white flowers. And big R, little r will have pink flowers. Having these listed out will help you answer the questions that this problem is posing. So in the next part of the problem, you're given a genetic cross. It says a dwarf red snapdragon is crossed with a plant homozygous for tallness and white flowers. So let's take this one plant at a time. The first plant is a dwarf, so it'll be little t, and it has red flowers, so it'll be big R. That's crossed with another plant that's homozygous for tallness, so that would be big T, and white flowers, little r. So now you have the genotypes that are involved in your genetic cross. So the question then asks, what are the genotype and phenotype of the F1 individuals? There are 2 ways to figure out the answer for this question, and I'll go through both ways. So one way that you can look at the answer, or try to figure out the answer, is to consider each gene separately. So first let's look at the gene for height. You draw a Punnett square and put the genotypes of the parents on either side. Then you fill out the Punnett square as usual. And you can see that all the progeny in the F1 will be big T, which means that all the plants will have a tall phenotype. Then you just do a Punnett square for the other gene in the same way. And when you fill out the Punnett square, you see that all the F1 progeny are big R, little r, and the phenotype associated with that genotype is pink flowers. So all of the progeny in the F1 will have the genotype of big T, big R, little r, and they'll be tall with pink flowers. The second way to figure out the answer for this problem is to look at the cross and figure out what kind of gamete will each parent produce. So for this plant, it will make a gamete that has a little t or a big R. That's the only type of gamete that it can make. The other plant will make a gamete that will be big T, little r. And that's the only type of gamete it can make. Remember, the gamete's haploid, and it'll include one allele for every gene. So then you can consider what happens after fertilization when the two gametes combine. And that gives you that genotype. That's a tall plant with pink flowers. If you wanted to draw a Punnett square for this, you'd put one gamete on one side and another gamete on the other side. You don't really need to do a Punnett square for this case because there's only one type of gamete being made. But consider if you had heterozygotes, then there'd be more than one type of gamete combination.